This is why I'm looking towards Civilization 7. I must admit that all I'm going to say is these are my thoughts on what I believe Civilization 7 could be. First of all, I absolutely love the look of the game. I feel that this game could be a great game changer. It could be a refreshing pace from Civilization 6, and I'm cautiously optimistic about this game. I do have some nitpicks when it comes to, let's say, the age of transitions, but I can understand why the developers are going towards that area. On the one hand, it has all the improvements I could have wanted for in a new Civilization game. A new fantastic art style that combines realism and uplifts from Civ 6 more, I would believe, stylish depiction of warfare. Sometimes the stylish outlook didn't hold my interest as much as I would have. But at the same time, it has an improved map with hexes instead of circles, scouts can build outposts, and already what we seem to have is wonders are being built within cities and they've been made to look so damn good. I'm like, okay, this is great. The developers also want to showcase the fact that, okay, so if in the previous Civilization games, if you could explore one area of the map and just reach right to the end of the ocean, okay, that was it. There wasn't much else to explore. And one of the main aspects that I've always agreed with Civilization, that's what Civilization is. Every time I play a Civilization game, whether that be in 5 or 6 and now 7, it will always feel as if it's a new beginning. If there were other things that really caught out to me now, is that city districts have houses, they can sprawl, so cities do actually have more of a structure. There's also a railroad as well. You get a DLC that lets you have actual trains running down the streets of your districts or something. So I really would like to see these miniature style train stations or something like that. At the same time, there are some design choices that I might struggle to deal with at first, but I'm just giving you my thoughts. That's all this video is giving you. It's just a guy that's enjoyed Civilization in the past, a guy that used to love playing Civilization 5, and a guy that likes creating stories with video games. If you come across my videos, I want to tell you exactly what I feel about this game. That's the intro. Right now I'll give you my thoughts on what the core mechanics are. We'll talk about the transitions, the units and technologies, diplomacy and warfare, what I think are the weaknesses, and so on and so forth. Everything has been structured, everything has been put into the video essay as I've tried to make it out to be. So let me know what you think of what you are looking forward to in Civilization 7. Let's have a great discussion and I will respond to each and every comment that is in there right now. So it's just a random guy's thoughts. Let's see what happens. Let's talk about the ages first, because ages and transitions is something that has been somehow I'm on the fence with it. Let's talk about the elephant in the room here. That is ages and transitions. What is Civ 7 in a nutshell? You pick a leader of a chosen civilization, you establish your cities, you build an empire, you have technologies, you have diplomacy, and then you have to gain over 200 points to transition into the next stage, as these turn times also factor in your scientific, economic, and military milestones that you will have want to cover during your gameplay. Over that time, you might experience your civilization going through a crisis that will break a factor perhaps of your civilization. It could be a climate crisis challenge, it could be an economic challenge with corruption. Say for example that if you conquered a city, that city would be less happy under you, but their architecture and their culture would change. So when I hear about the devs basically saying, okay, so if there's a Roman Empire, right, you reach the end of antiquity, now you can be the Normans. And I don't know if I'm too much of a fan of that, because it's not like in history where the Romans just suddenly transitioned from being Rome to being the Normans. That didn't happen. What did happen was the changing of religion. And religion also should play a big factor as well. It was also because of the fact that when civilization collapsed, they collapsed internally. They collapsed internally by allowing the enemy to be within their ranks. So, if there's raiders raiding your border, if you're struggling at the same time to deal with economic challenges, plus you could have a climate crisis, you could have earthquakes, you could have volcanoes for example, then your city might be ruined. then it might be time to change into a new civilization. But I don't know if I'm fully won over this. Because there have been many other YouTubers, many other people saying that, okay, if I play, let's say, Our History Untold, or let's say if I choose XYZ in Millennia, or if I choose any other civilization, then obviously your culture would change, as was demonstrated in Humankind. If I played the Greeks, then I would change over to the, let's say, Indians, or I would change over to a new culture. And I can appreciate that this is something new. This is something that developers are trying to break in the 4X mode, but somehow it just doesn't seem to work with me. You have, let's say, antiquity, industrial, and modern. But then your story is kind of interrupted each and every time you want to do that. Now, if there is a mode that just lets you play antiquity all the way up to, let's say, the modern age, maybe that could be weird. But at the same time, if you just want to play antiquity versus antiquity, that would be a great feature as well. I'm willing to see, however, if this ages and transition period is done better than Humankind. Perhaps it's even done better than Millennia. When I first saw it, my honest thoughts were, nope, I want to stick with the Civilization. But let's see how it gets implemented. I think there should be some mods that allow you to stay within a civilization and an era if you want it. And when I talked to a couple of fans on the Civ Reddit, one of them told me you can play in the same era or the same civilization perhaps for the next 200 turns because your victory conditions will be set to that era. So if there's more options to customize it, then this is all well and good. But then how does that change the fact that if you don't change your civilization, other civilizations could change their leaders within a couple of turns? That is something to take a note of as well. But I believe it's also the fact that the developers want to showcase how civilizations rise and fall through each era. And that's something I can get behind, but I feel you could literally have another age of decline. If you have antiquity, industrial and modern, you could also have something similar to a declining period. So that would mean an entire age dedicated to where it is supremely difficult for you to manage your economy, to manage everything. Rather than transition through it through just one age of antiquity, rather have it as a middle phase. So you're not locked into different areas. When you are transitioning from the ancient to the industrial, you will face corruption. You might face a world congress. You might face different challenges without X, Y, and Z. You could face an entirely new set of challenges that would take over your most concerning problems. Let's say that your rivers become filled with poison. Your citizens don't get enough food. There are famines, there are harvests. And yet I also have a feeling that many of these features that I talk about will be pretty much introduced into a DLC. They could be a DLC factor. The other aspect is I'm not too sure how this game is going to handle cultures if you're changing leaders every time. Now this might sound more like a critique, and it is a critique in one way. I want to have some point where if I decide to stay within an era, I want to stay within that era forever. If I want that leader to stay in that, let's say, campaign, then I want that leader to stay in it. And I do think that they could do something like that. Now the game will be releasing with the Nouveau. I'm no fan of the Nouveau, I don't think anybody is, but it's something that you get in games nowadays. If there's always a requirement to play offline, I don't know if that's really going to fit with everybody. I do think that if there's an offline mode, that is what they should be, because essentially these games are single player games at the end of the day, but they always will have that multiplayer component as well. I can also think that Firaxis is trying to, branch out to a bigger audience that routinely plays online. So which is going to give you more money. There's also that factor in as well. But I don't claim to be an expert in any of the matters so far. But what I do claim to say is that I have played Civilization in the past, and I think Civilization 7 is going to be great. If I had a wish list for anything else, then I would say add a railroad DLC. I think they could really do something great with trains. I do think They will do absolutely fantastic with the soundtrack. Civilization has never disappointed when it comes to the soundtrack. I sincerely enjoyed Civilization 7. I sincerely appreciate for the fact that they're adding in new indigenous civilizations. We're getting some Native American civilizations. We're getting the Mayans, we're getting the Egyptians, we're getting the Romans. I mean, we're getting a much more diverse range of civilizations. That much is great, and they're getting their own buffs, their own bonuses. I think that's absolutely fantastic. I really like the graphics and art style. I really do think that there's potential to really make something great. I hope there is more scope for modding in the future, and that's literally it. Now I could go on and on and on, but I don't want to. All I'm saying is these were my thoughts on what I think Civilization 7 could be. I think the greatest strengths going for Civilization 7 is the art style, perhaps a bit of the user interface. I do think they could make it more vibrant, more colorful. I do think that the units of the ancient time period look absolutely smashing, and I can't definitely wait to roleplay, Augustus going over to Egypt and roleplaying that campaign, because I do play Total War. Rome 2 was one of my most best and appreciated games ever, so I definitely love to do something like that. I would definitely say that the branding, the poster, the art, the look, the feel, everything of Civilization 7 is great. What I'm not a fan of is the ages and transitions, but I'm waiting to see how it will play out altogether. So that's my thoughts. I'll be making more Civilization 7 content, and I'm just a small YouTuber at the end of the day. I've tried to make this as appreciative as I could, as detailed as I could, and there's a whole bunch of YouTubers that got early access. No, I didn't get invited, no, I didn't get it, but I love the Civilization series. I love the way Civilization plays. It's a period of exploration, of history, of discovery, and that's what has always attracted me to Civilization 7. So, if you don't mind me, please give a like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video, where I will be making more Civilization content. Yes, we also got Japan in a modern era as well. That's something that also has to be appreciated. That's also something that has to be appreciated, but I think the Civilization fan base knows what they want. I'm just a random YouTuber giving their thoughts at the end of the day. I'll be making more Civ 7 content as more news is revealed. Now, I've rambled on enough, and yeah. See you in the next video.